chance to, you know, to have that or to be associated with that feat. And I'm so grateful that this morning all of you have tuned into Pan-African TV to watch the newspaper review segment of the show. We're also live on Facebook and YouTube. So facebook.com/Pan-African Television, also youtube.com/Pan-African Television. You can watch us. Alternatively, if you can't watch from the comfort of your homes on your televisions, just log on to Facebook, PATV, Pan-African Television, and we are there. Make sure you link up with us. We stream live. This show is streaming live currently. Make sure you like, comment, and then share so that others, your friends, your loved ones, could also join in the conversation. There are a number of topics that I've tabled for, or we have tabled for this morning's discussion. We shall be going to South Africa. The South African President, Cyril Ramaphosa, he is calling for unity. He's calling for a united front. The ambulance trial, since the court, since the case is still in court, we shall try our best possible to find our way around it so that we do not fall to the very harsh, right. So ambulance case, Atoforsen files for mistrial, citing AG's misconduct. Also, CDs, I want to say that the CDs for is a ritual problem. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday that I got to realize that a pound now sells at a whopping 21 Ghana cedis for £1. 21 Ghana cedis for one pound. A few years ago, if someone had told me that we would quickly jump to 21 cedis to a pound, I wouldn't have believed it. But that reality has caught up with us. So is the dollar. Now
the market center in Koforidua, right? And then we met with also some key leaders, the chief of New Drubbing, and also the Zongo chiefs as well, and Zongo opinion leaders. Met with our leader, Honorable Alan Kodo-Tramantin. And, you know, we had a warm reception in the Zongo community, which definitely signifies that, that we are one people, and that we are not going to vote based on our tribal affiliation or religious affiliation, but
the National Democratic Congress's Pro Forum, their professional forum. He should be joining us shortly. Also, Michael Abe, who is a public policy enthusiast. I'm so much giddy for the panel today. I'm looking forward to, you know, an insightful conversation with the people I'm having on my panel this morning. Top notch. Charlie, the brains are there. I'm excited, very, very excited for the panel. I'm hoping that Mr. Michael Abe and, of course, Ambassador Sampi, 30 years. Counted, people had predicted that there wasn't any way that ANC would or were going to amass more than 50% of seats in parliament. And true to their predictions, true to their words, these predictions have panned out exactly so. So 45% for the ANC, the other 55% for the other parties, who, when they decide that they are going to come together as one monolithic entity, then it means that the number of seats or their strength would be more than that of the ANC. But I don't think that President Cyril Ramaphosa will just sit and put his hands in between his loins for that to happen. So he's calling for a united front. I'm sure he's going to be calling on other parties to collaborate with the ANC. Let me read excerpts of the story. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has admitted his African National Congress party has suffered a challenging election result after the party lost its majority for the first time since apartheid ended 30 years ago. The ANC, once led by Nelson Mandela, won 159 seats in the 400-seat parliament in Wednesday's election, down from 230. So from 230 to 159. So you take away 159 minus 200, and that should give you 71 seats. They lost 71 seats in parliament. Mr. Ramaphosa still described the result as a victory for democracy, calling on rival parties to find common ground, apparently preparing for coalition talks. The opposition Democratic Alliance DA party has said it is open to coalition talks with Mr. Ramaphosa, but it opposes a number of his government's key priorities. With all the votes counted, the ANC down from 58% in the previous election. The Electoral Commission announced on Sunday this was lower than the party's feared worst-case scenario of 45%. Development there from South Africa, and I'm sure that the movement for change would want to tear a page or a leaf out of this development in South Africa. Perhaps this would give them some inspiration that, as it has happened in South Africa, it is likely to also unfold here in Ghana on 7th December 2024. Mr. Ramsey.
Yes, bless. Indeed, South Africa has led the way. 30 years of the arrogance of people wielding power in the ANC has been brought to a complete standstill. And this is good for our democracy. This is victory for democracy in South Africa and in Africa. That indeed, no one entity would be able to determine the future of their people without broader stakeholder consultation and without involving other stakeholders. And so I'm happy for the democracy of South Africa and Africa. This clearly shows that, if you look at the pressing issues that the South Africans went to this election, I mean, the ANC was thinking that with the support of Palestine, right, they would be at least able to pull massive support from the Muslim caucus in parts of doing business, security. You know, South Africa has one of the worst, security in the world, right? Crime rates, it has the highest crime rates in the world, right? Murder rates, very, very high. The police to population ratio is not also adequate, and it's one of the things that the people have always been waking up to tell the government that, hey, we need to rise up to the occasion. We need to ensure that you put in adequate measures, egalitarian policies that would ensure the adequate social and economic development of the people of South Africa. And so a national agenda, right? You realize that there are a lot of policies that go not in favor of the people. Many policies that are passed in Parliament, right, are not populist policies. They are not in favor of the people. They are not egalitarian policies. And if you look at currently in Ghana, that vote and will not be left out.
Right.
You understand, bless? Right. And that is what the movement for change is all about. Right. Formulating a budget, we don't forget the people in Jirapa, or we don't forget the people in Tong, or we don't forget the people in Nzema, or we don't forget the people in Bukom, because we are all Ghanaians, and we all deserve an equal share of the national pie. You understand? Right. And that is the tenet of our movement for change.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Ramsey Inusa. It's always a delight and a pleasure to be in the storied company of Ambassador Sam Piali, the National Democratic Congress's president of their Pro Forum, that is the Professionals Forum, also a former High Commissioner to the Republic of India, Ambassador Sam Piali. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Bless. How are you?
It's been a while. I trust you're fine.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Great. Great. Also, Michael Abe. Today, I think, if I'm not wrong, should be his third or fourth time on the show. And we continue to call him for a reason. That's because we are thoroughly satisfied, and I'm sure our viewers are too, with the kind of submissions that he makes on the show. Mr. Abe, good morning.
Good morning, Bless.
Trust you're fine.
I'm good.
A little bit of traffic, but finally you're here.
I mean, I miss this economic hardship. Charlie, it's terrible.
It's terrible. Right. I'll move straight to Ambassador Sam Piali. He would also share his thoughts with us with developments in South Africa for the very first time in 30 years since apartheid ended. The ANC, they have lost their majority in Parliament. Was this to be expected?
Well, good morning, Dr. Ramsey and Mike. It's always a joy listening to you and sending me my messages. You see, this segment of Pan-African program is very, very important because I was in somewhere Morocco and I was listening to you. It's very good. And that's why I always want the discussion to be moved beyond ordinary discussions of partisan nature. What has happened in South Africa, we have seen in Ghana before. You know, once upon a time, the Convention People's Party has such dominance in our governance. But those of us who were adherents to the CPP, missed something, that we have over-concentrated on the person of Kwame Nkrumah, and that as a human being, he can also falter. He resembles what has happened to the ANC. Now, you know, these South Africans have been under bondage for a very long time. And they were mobilized under the African National Congress for their independence. So for the first 10 years after independence, you know, people had nostalgia about the slavery they have undergone. And therefore, no matter what happened, they would always go and vote for the ANC. The ANC had the biggest majority in parliament for all the sessions until the recent elections. The ANC should have noted that they have broken into segments. They themselves had broken into segments. With the exit of Malema, the youth wing, it took a chunk of the ANC voters with him. So he had 14% in the last elections. And then the recent one, the MK, you know, also MK became third. You know, so but if you add MK and EFF,
yeah,
it's quite substantial number of votes.
Yeah.
So the ANC had disintegrated from the center, and there's something that they should have noted and purged. No wonder after the elections they are all rushing for unity.
Yeah.
With whoever would be available for unity. Now, to the politics of South Africa itself, the economy had not supported the ANC. You know, these were a group of people that have been suppressed and been liberated. So the expectations were very high that, oh, we're moving from maybe Egypt to Kenya, and we expect that with hardships, we should see light at the end of the tunnel. If you look at the resource flow to the DA, you know, the DA, Democratic Alliance, which is predominantly white-based party, it is surprising to me, I mean, as a student of African politics, to see DA all of a sudden surge to the second position. And the ANC better beware, because they are not going to be left alone. If they don't take it, the next election, DA will overtake them. And I pray that wisdom in their new call, the current call for South Africans, and for him to have used that. And look at his performance at the Soweto and the rest. Yeah. So I think that the ANC itself has created the problem that they are seeing themselves, and the long unseen hands of geopolitics is also at play in there. You know, now that they have got a government, they are going to form a government, they have to look inwards and try to bring policies that do not satisfy a few. You know, let me end on the seemingly bad performance of the EFF. You know, that most people have found themselves to the DA. It means that he has to change his narrative. You see, that radical nationalism and all those things, he has to take a look at his messaging.
And it's more of, to me, what are the lessons that we can pick from this? Already, you have partners or parties to the coalition who have different views as to how society should be organized. Views that may be rooted in ideology, views that may, of course, be sharp in terms of difference, as to how, for instance, they should tackle their unemployment situation in South Africa and what have you. For me, it presents the opportunity for the ANC to once again begin to listen to diverse views. You know, since the end of apartheid, ANC was more or less South Africa, and South Africa was the ANC largely. And it was because of the dominance and the fact that anytime they had gone for elections, ANC, it was a given that Charlie, ANC is going to win. And it has been the case for a while now until, of course, recent happenings. Well, power is transient. Authority control is transient. That is what it means. And I think it's a major lesson that politicians and political parties alike must be guided by, as far as the conduct of politics and management of power, leading people is concerned. It led party, and that's interesting, particularly when you situate that within the context of how the EFF fared in the elections. And so clearly there may be the need for some digging to unravel what accounted for EFF's abysmal performance. MK that came recently, I mean, look at the results. They polled, I think, I'm told, 14% thereabout or so. Far more than what EFF had, which was around 9% in the elections. Yeah. So, and, well, we at a point thought Malema was beginning to carry the continent with his nationalistic views, his Pan-African views, orientation. Otherwise, may have been a positive political experience. All eyes are, I'm sure, observing, watching the political space in South Africa to see how the negotiations go. I mean, we are all interested. And I'm sure this is good for democracy, as the president mentioned, because what this means is that you're opening up the space for diversity. I mean, various views coming on board through these political parties or partners that may be forming a coalition. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Michael. You two can be a part of the conversation. Let me know what your thoughts are. We are streaming on Facebook at facebook.com/Pan-African Television. I see scores of you have already joined the conversation. I'm extremely grateful. Also, text line, as you can see, has been displayed on the screen, 0599 9199 802, I beg your pardon, 0559. Attorney General Godfrey Dame, containing evidence of criminal and prosecutorial misconduct by the AG. Additionally, quotes from media reports, notably Asasi Radio, highlighting professional misconduct by the AG have been cited and attached to the affidavit. Atuforsen is requesting the court to declare a mistrial in the interest of justice, emphasizing that justice must not only be done, but must also be manifestly seen to be done. He asserts that the Attorney General has engaged in reprehensible and unlawful behavior solely to secure his conviction. I'm going to start with Ambassador Sampi Ali for very obvious reasons. He's a lawyer. There's a lot of legal jargons and legal quotes I'm seeing here. I will break it down for us so that the laymen like us, myself and then Mike and then Dr. Ramsey, would understand, so that we can also share our independent views on it. Ambassador.
Thank you very much. I'm observing an interesting trend serving the media, and that has to do with my friends from the great movement, whatever, AFRC2. At the least opportunity, they lump NDC and MPP and call it the duopoly, which Ghanaians will vote against. If you are being beaten, say I'm being beaten, don't say we are being beaten. Right? For the past 8 years, NDC has not been part of this rot. The last 4 years that NDC was in government, our achievements are well written, and everybody knows of it. So I take exception to members who were in the party that has brought us this far to always seek to lump us together. I don't think it's a good, healthy thing to do. The misfortune of NDC and MPP should not be visited on the NDC. We are a party that knows what we are about. And in fact, reading through most of the things that you come on air to say, you find most of them in the NDC Manifesto 2020. You know, most of the transformation agenda will be found in the NDC 2020. So, Doc, with the greatest respect, if you have a fight with your party which you have broken off, you cannot use the NDC as a launch pad for your candidate's popularity. The time has not come for such discussions, you know, but I'm getting increasingly worried about the great transformation or whatever. What's the name? May I call them AFRC2? Which never change. This AFRC. AFRC4, revolutionary change. ARC. I take great exception for they always trying to co-join the NDC to the misfortune of the NPP.
When he's done, you would
share your thoughts. So, like I said, we are living in interesting times under very horrendous government. In all these things that is going on, Mike, I don't want us to go into the legal aspect of it, but I want us to look at the social impact of this whole. But the social impact is that as we fighting over these legal issues, the 50 ambulances or more are parked at the Air Force Base, unused for 8 years. Bless. I am looking at the faces of people in Jirapa, Sandema, Cape Coast, and other places who have extreme need for these ambulances. And because of the president's wishful thinking of just jailing people and reciting them in his State of the Nation address. This is the first time I've heard any president instigate to its own people. Let me speak about my own constituency, Commander Edna Egwaf. Our major factory there was a Commander Sugar factory, right? Then I speak with passion on this matter because I was ambassador to India. Indians are as poor as we are. They put their monies together and give it to you as a loan. Here, who is not performing? What do? Don't you change the money? The Pan-African television. In fact, my machines will be very obsolete and unusable. The Indians brought their contractor, they brought their own consultants. And no Ghanaian took part in that. The factory has been there for the past 8 years. The people of Commander Negwafo have been denied employment. The country has also been denied sugar because those in the sugar cabal who import sugar will not want Ghana to have its own factory. Go through that factory issues, and that's the underlying factor. Not only that, bless, in addition to the ambulance that have been left there, you know we built Saglame. Okay? Because some people are being tried, we have left, that was 75% complete in the bush. And as we go today, if you go there today, all the fittings in the estate have been stolen, including the wiring and all those tiles. They imported a lot of tiles. People go there, all been stolen. So the people who did 1,500 or 5,000, they have committed a certain crime, they are being dealt with. But who has actually caused financial loss to the state? The person who has denied Ghanaians accommodation, the person who has caused the items to be stolen. Right? So this is what we are dealing with. Now to the specific case of Atufos. Mike is the Minister for Health. He comes to me as Minister for Finance, that by our policy, Parliament has approved that we buy ambulances. But the agreement is that we will need letters of credit. letters of credit would show to the manufacturer that indeed the government is committed to pay for it. It is not payment. Once he receives the letter of credit, it's as good as payment, so he will ship. And by a certain arrangement, this was going to happen. Anybody who tells you that ambulances are shipped whole to another country is a fool. Anybody who will tell you at any time that if you import an ambulance, it will come as a turnkey is a fool. Because of shipping insurance risks, certain equipments don't have to be fixed on the ambulance during shipment, because as the ship moves, some of this sophisticated equipment can be crashed. Google every ambulance that has been shipped to any country has come in components. And indeed, the last one that we purchased under Akufo-Addo, you remember that they were there for about 1.5 years, and people started complaining. And his explanation was that they are fitting the parts on the ambulance. No, so, Doc, no, so. They are fitting the parts on the ambulance. So that's why the ambulance stayed at the State House, four-quarter stayed there for 1.5 years. And in this particular case we are talking about, I am very much aware that the equipment to be fixed on the ambulance have been shipped to this country for the past 8 years, is locked at the Tamahabo. So, for your inability to clear the parts of the equipment, they are there. What moral authority do you have to accuse somebody that he has imported what they call trotro, empty shelves? What is the moral legal impact of this? Now, when you read the first charges of Atuforson, that he has acted without authorization, okay, as a deputy minister, I've seen the statement of defense, which, okay, so look, I am forwarding the money to you. Upon receipt, please reship the ambulances to me. He said no. So the ambulances are standing there, transactions not completed, right? So I am asking, who has actually caused financial loss to the state? That aside, the trial itself, just like the Opuni trial, we don't know where it's going and where it's coming. Every day they are changing new facts. This, as a general rule, and that if you have to do so, even in the case where the person is not represented, it must be with the consent of the person. That I want to speak to you, because you can't meet me in court as a lawyer who is, we are practicing the adversarial system of government. So you are prosecuting me. You just can't meet me in court and say, I want to talk to you, if I'm not ready to talk to you. All right? It is even more grievous when the person has a lawyer. So what we normally do is that very, very, very serious offense. Apart from obstructing justice, he was also influencing the accused person. He was coaching the accused person. So if all this and more, which I don't want to bore your viewers, comes to play. One, you said I had done something without authorization. It's been proved that I did it with authorization. You said that we have caused financial loss. The person said, Chief, come and take your money and give me my ambulances. Give me your money, my money, and take your ambulances. That one you don't accept, right? So what is it that the Attorney General wants from Atuforson? It's based on all these things that he said, look, I think I'm not getting proper trial, and I'm likely to get mistrial. Once he has filed that, I don't like bringing courtroom issues to the public for discussion, because since the last week, many lawyers have been created on the matter. Everybody's explaining law which may not be the case. But it's even worse when so-called senior lawyers for political exigencies try to twist the meaning of the concepts of law. I've heard them, a lot of them, all because of political exigencies. Because every lawyer who has passed through Makola should know that once a matter is in court, a lawyer does not have to speak to the accused person. And the NPP is so indiscretional. Look, this is a Supreme Court judge, yeah, who was not mentioned in the NDC press conference. He was not mentioned. Then the NPP rather goes on to say, oh, the House of a Supreme Court judge. Who is throwing the Supreme Court judge under the bus? Is it the NDC or the NPP? So now, should ordinary mortals like Doctor believe that if he has a case in court and he does not know a Supreme Court judge, what happens? I am worried that the Ghana Bar Association is silent over this matter. And listen to the NPP. This is a doctored tape. Let me end with this. This is a doctored tape. In law, he who alleges must prove.
273692 or call 0555069388. The WhatsApp is 0556273692. The call number is 0555693888. The Instagram is at Babi_touch28 and also at Babi.mens_28. Right. Now, away from that, let me come to Dr. Ramsey.
Yes.
Enusa. I'm sure he has preliminary comments before the main, before getting to the main dish. Dr. Ramsey.
Yes, I listened to my uncle and very honorable and senior colleague, and it's a pleasure meeting him today for the first time. I mean, I've always been watching him as a young person, and so having the privilege to sit close to him today to discuss national issues is a very privileged thing, and I really feel that we would have a very good discourse today. But my uncle has raised some really touching points which I want to clarify to the people of Ghana with all due respect. The movement for change is not a composition of only ex-MPP members, right? Today, we're glad to have of about 17 smaller political entities or interest groups that have formed an alliance with us called the Alliance for Revolutionary Change. And so, you know, Dr. Abu Sakara, who is a former member of the CPP, is part of us, right? We have Mr. Asante of the PNC, who is part of us. We have the Third Force Movement, Mrs. Tina, who is also part of us. We have erudites in academia and industry captains and people from all figures in there and in the establishment of the factory, right? And one of the things that really crosses my mind is that when you look at the legal depreciation value of that factory, which is supposed to be about 5 to 10%, how then would a factory that had a machine, the total machinery value of about $34.6 million from the year 2016, which is the audit report by PwC, then depreciates to $12.029 million in 2017. When you take the 5 to 10% legal depreciation rate, how then did this happen? And then secondly, when you also look at the audit report, there were a lot of components that were missing in the factory that were supposed to be there to produce sugar. And so when they did the test run, the Commander Sugar Factory did not produce sugar. What we saw was just political theatrics. You understand? And it was an election year to persuade voters that indeed we've built a factory that is able to produce sugar. Which the factory capacity was 5,000 metric tons of sugar, right? But unfortunately, the factory never produced sugar. And it's on record that after 2 months of commissioning, the NDC was offering the factory to the private entities for sale. They were selling it. Yes, it's on record. It's on record. And when the Honorable Alan Kodo Tramantin was brought before Parliament on a dead horse. That is the current fate of that, because a lot of machinery components were missing for the production of sugar.
Do we realize that every other day that we forget the Commander Sugar Factory, it gets worse? So eventually there'll come a time where the several millions of dollars that has been invested into it would vanish. It will amount to nothingness, and the factory would no longer be in existence. So I understand that a government starts